My name is Myrna. I'm 28 years old. The night before my wedding, my mother sent an email to all 94 guests with the subject line, "Concerned mother, please read." She CC'd my boss and every coworker. In it, she wrote that I was mentally unstable, erratic, and making dangerous, impulsive decisions. She claimed my fiancé was taking advantage of my vulnerable state and that I wasn't in any condition to get married. She begged them not to attend. For my own good. By morning, 68 people had canceled. The next day, I walked down the aisle of St. Michael's Church completely alone. Only 8 people showed up. The church that was supposed to hold 220 guests felt like a tomb. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my bouquet. Then the back doors slammed open. 200 strangers in matching jackets poured in. And that was the moment everything my mother had done completely backfired. Before I go on, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this story. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I love knowing where you all are. Now, let me take you back. Not just to the engagement, not just to when I met Owen. I need to take you all the way back to the beginning. To when I was 7 years old and I first learned that, in my mother's eyes, I was never enough. I have a brother, Kyle. He's 3 years older than me. Growing up, I thought the difference in how we were treated was normal. I thought it was because he was the boy, or because he was older, or because I was just somehow less deserving. I was 7 when Kyle got a brand new Schwinn bike for his birthday. Red, 10-speed, shiny. I'd asked for a bike that year, too. Mom said it was too expensive. 3 months later, Kyle unwrapped that Schwinn. I got used roller skates from a garage sale. $12. The previous owner's name was still written inside in Sharpie, Brittany. One of the wheels wobbled. When I asked why Kyle got a new bike and I got Brittany's old skates, Mom said, "Kyle's older. He needs it for his paper route." He never had a paper route. I was 12 when I had my birthday party. 6 friends, backyard, sheet cake from Costco. $18.99. I know because I saw the receipt. 3 months earlier, Kyle had turned 15. Mom rented the skating rink. 30 kids. DJ. Pizza for everyone. I'd had 10 names on my invite list. Mom cut it to 6. She said, "You're not as social as Kyle. You wouldn't want a big party anyway." I wanted a big party. I was 16 when Kyle got a car. A 2009 Honda Accord. $8,500. Used, but clean. Silver. His name went on the insurance. My 16th birthday came 4 months later. Mom said, "You can share with Kyle." Kyle was at Oregon State, 3 hours away. He came home twice a semester. His car sat in our driveway most weekends. When I asked to use it, Mom said I hadn't earned that kind of responsibility. I walked to school. 1.8 miles each way. In the rain. Oregon rain. 9 months a year. For 2 years. Kyle's college tuition was paid in full by my parents. Oregon State, 4 years, $48,000 total. When I graduated high school and got into Portland State for social work, I asked how we were paying for it. Mom laughed. "Sweetie, we can't afford 2 college educations. We paid for Kyle. You'll need to take out loans." I said Kyle's tuition was $48,000. She said, "And it was worth it. He's an engineer. He'll make good money." Social work? "Myrna, you're going to make $35,000 a year. It doesn't make financial sense for us to invest in that." Invest? Like I was a stock portfolio. I took out loans. Finished my BA in 2019. $22,000 in debt. Then I applied for my Master of Social Work. I needed it to be a case manager. Mom said, "More school? You're already $22,000 in debt." I said social work requires an MSW. "It's not excessive. It's the requirement." She said, "That's 6 years of college total." Kyle did 4 years and has a career. We're certainly not paying for it. You're an adult. Figure it out. I graduated with my MSW in 2021. Total debt: $38,600. Kyle graduated with zero. I started my job at Rose City Family Services making $42,000 a year. My monthly loan payment was $320 for 10 years. Mom said, "See, this is why we didn't pay. 6 years of school for $42,000? You could have been a nurse." I said, "I help people escape abuse." She said, "You help strangers. Family should come first." I didn't know it then, but that was the moment I started to see it. The abuse wasn't in the houses I visited for work. It was in the house I grew up in. I learned early. I was the problem. Kyle was the proof I wasn't good enough. I met Owen in August 2023. Coffee date at Stumptown, Belmont location. A mutual friend set us up. He's an elementary school teacher, 3rd grade, Title I school in North Portland. He also has a therapy practice in the evenings. Licensed clinical therapist. He didn't mention that part until our 3rd date. On our 1st date, he asked about my family. I gave my standard answer. We're close. Normal. He asked if I saw them often. I said my mom calls every day. He paused. Every day? I said, yeah, is that weird? He said, no, just, do you like the calls? I'd never been asked that before. I said, no, I dread them. He didn't say anything, just nodded. Later he told me that's when he knew. Nobody who's happy talks to their mom every day and flinches every time the phone rings. 2 months later, October 2023, Owen gave me a book. Will I Ever Be Good Enough? By Dr. Carol McBride, about daughters of narcissistic mothers. He wrote a note inside the cover. No pressure. Just thought you might see yourself in here. Oh. I read it in one night. I highlighted 67 passages. I cried 4 times. There was a chapter called The Scapegoat Daughter. Every word was about me. I called Owen at 2 a.m. I said, "This is my mother." Every page. How did you know? He said, because I had one too. That November, I started therapy. Dr. Angela Pemberton. Her office is above a bakery in Southeast Portland. The intake form asked me to describe my relationship with my mother. I wrote 3 pages. The first session, I cried for 40 of the 50 minutes. Dr. Pemberton asked me why I was there. I said my boyfriend thinks I have family issues. She asked what I thought. I said, I think I'm just sensitive. My mom says I'm too sensitive. Dr. Pemberton asked how often she says that. I said a lot. She asked, does she say it after you express a feeling she doesn't like? I started crying. By session 3, I had 24 pages of journal entries documenting every interaction with my mother for 2 weeks. Dr. Pemberton said, Myrna, this isn't normal mother-daughter conflict. This is abuse. I said, but she never hit me. She said, that's not the only kind of abuse. Over the next 6 months, I learned words I'd never heard before. Gaslighting, Darvo, covert narcissism, golden child and scapegoat, flying monkeys, trauma bonding. Dr. Pemberton would ask, when your mother says, you're remembering it wrong, what is she doing? I'd say, gaslighting? She'd nod. And when she cries and says, how can you accuse me after all I've done for you? I'd say, Darvo, deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. She'd say, exactly. She's making herself the victim of your boundary. I kept a list in my notes app. 18 terms. I read 6 books. All recommended by Dr. Pemberton. I started recognizing patterns in real time, like in March 2024 when Mom called and said, you're pulling away from family. I recognized it immediately. Isolation accusation. The reality? I was setting boundaries. Owen didn't tell me what to do. He never said cut her off or she's toxic. He just asked, "What do you want?" And for the first time in 28 years, I realized I didn't know. I'd never been allowed to want anything different than what she wanted. On February 14th, 2025, Owen proposed. Pittock Mansion overlook. 7:43 p.m. City lights below us. 38 degrees. Clear night. He said, "Myrna, you're the first person I've ever met who doesn't need me to fix them. You just needed someone to see you. I see you. Will you marry me?" The ring was a sapphire. My favorite color. Simple band. $890. He'd saved for 4 months. I said yes before he finished the question. We stayed on that overlook for 2 hours talking about our future. I was so happy I forgot to be scared. That was my mistake. I called Mom from the car at 9:15. I said, "Mom, Owen proposed." There was a pause. Then she said, "Oh, wow, that's fast." I said we'd been together 18 months. She said, "Are you sure you're ready? You've always been impulsive?" I said, "What?" She said, "I just want you to think it through. Marriage is a big step. You don't want to rush into something you'll regret." I said I wasn't rushing. I love him. She said, "Of course you do, honey. I worry about your judgment sometimes." The call lasted 6 minutes and 12 seconds. She never said congratulations. She never said she was happy for me. She said impulsive 3 times. Owen asked how it went. I said fine. He looked at my face and said, "What did she say?" I started crying. That's when Owen started writing things down. Within 72 hours, Mom had called 8 family members. Her message was the same to each. "Myrna's engaged. I'm worried about her judgment." To Aunt Nancy, my mom's sister, she said, "I think Owen is moving too fast. She's vulnerable." To Grandma Ruth, she said, "I hope she knows what she's doing. He seems controlling." To Cousin Jennifer, she said, "Between you and me, I think she's making a mistake." By February 20th, I'd received 12 concerned texts from relatives. "Is everything okay? Are you sure? Do you need to talk?" I felt smothered, doubted, crazy. I told Owen, "My family's just worried, it's normal." He said, "Is it?" When I told my family, they threw us a party. That's when I realized, normal families celebrate. Mine was preparing for disaster. Owen didn't tell me, but on February 18th, he started documenting date and time of each interaction with my mother. Exact quotes when possible. My emotional state before and after each call. Pattern categories, gaslighting, Darvo, isolation attempts, flying monkey recruitment. He kept it all in his phone notes app, backed up to the cloud. I didn't know. He just listened. Every time Mom called and I felt crazy afterward, Owen would say, "Tell me exactly what she said. Word for word." And he'd write it down. In March, we set our wedding budget. $11,800. We'd saved together over 6 months. Small, meaningful, DIY. St. Michael's Church for $1,200, including the community hall next door. My dress from David's Bridal, $680, off the rack. Flowers DIY from the farmer's market, $350. Food potluck reception with $800 budgeted for main dishes. Our friend with a good camera for $500 plus dinner. Invitations from Etsy, printed at home, $85. We kept it small. 94 guests. My side, 38. Owen's side, 56. Between March and September, Mom offered to help 14 times. I declined every time. Each time I declined, she'd make a comment. "Let me help with invitations." Declined. "Well, I hope they don't look too homemade." "I know a great caterer." Declined. "We're doing potluck." Potluck? For a wedding? That's budget. "Let me buy your dress." Declined. "David's Bridal? I guess that's fine if you don't care about quality." I found a better venue. Declined. St. Michael's is so small. Are you embarrassed about attendance? By July, I stopped sharing wedding details with her. She noticed. That's when she told the family, Myrna's shutting me out. I think Owen's isolating her. The messages started. Aunt Nancy called 9 times between May and August. Cousin Jennifer sent 6 coffee invitations. Just want to catch up. Grandma Ruth visited 4 times. I was in the neighborhood. She lives 45 minutes away. Each conversation included the same questions. How are you really? Is everything okay with Owen? You can talk to me. I started pulling back from everyone. It was exhausting to constantly reassure them I wasn't being abused by Owen. The irony was that I was withdrawing from abuse, from my mother. But she'd turned it around. She was telling everyone Owen was the problem. On July 23rd, Mom sent a text to our family group chat. 18 people. Praying for Myrna, she's going through something. Please keep her in your thoughts. When people asked what was wrong, she said, I can't say, it's private. But pray. Within 48 hours, I'd received 31 "Are you okay?" messages. I told Owen I felt like I was suffocating. He said, because you are. She's turned your whole family into extensions of herself. They're flying monkeys. I'd learned that term in therapy. It fit. By September, I'd stopped answering family calls. October was 2 weeks away, and Mom was about to go nuclear. Before I tell you what happened next, I need to know, where are you right now? Are you listening to this on your commute? Late at night in bed? During your lunch break? I ask because this story gets heavy, and I want you to be somewhere you can feel whatever you need to feel. If you need to pause, pause. If you need to cry, cry. This isn't just my story. It might be yours too. October 17th, 2025. The night before my wedding. We had a small rehearsal dinner. 20 people. Local restaurant. Owen's family and the 8 people from my side who were still coming. It went well. There was laughter. Owen's mom gave a toast about how happy she was to welcome me to their family. I left at 10 p.m. optimistic. I had no idea what my mother was doing. At her house, 10:30 p.m., Mom sat at her kitchen table. Computer open. An empty wine glass next to her. On the screen was an email, draft. She'd written it days earlier but never sent. The subject line read, Concerned mother, please read. She'd been staring at it for 20 minutes, cursor hovering over the send button. At 11:47 p.m., she clicked send. 94 recipients. Every person invited to my wedding. CC'd Denise Holloway, my boss at Rose City Family Services, 6 of my coworkers, 5 members of our church group. The email left her outbox at 11:47. By 11:52, 23 people had opened it. By midnight, 40. By 6 a.m. the next morning, all 94 had read it. I woke up at 7:15, wedding day. My alarm went off. I reached for my phone to turn it off. The screen showed 34 missed texts. I opened the first one. Aunt Nancy, sent at 6:47 a.m. Sweetie, I'm so sorry we can't come today. Your mom's email. We think you need help, not a wedding. Please call us. I opened the next one. Cousin Jennifer, 7:02 a.m. Myrna, I love you, but this doesn't feel right. We're sitting this one out. Please get the support you need. Next. Family friend, 7:15 a.m. We received your mother's email. We're praying for you. We think you should postpone. I scrolled. 34 texts. All cancellations. I opened my email app. 68 unread emails. I saw my mother's email forwarded by my aunt. Subject: Concerned mother, please read. I opened it. Dear friends and family, it breaks my heart to write this. As many of you know, Myrna has struggled with anxiety and depression over the years. Recently, her behavior has become erratic. She's pulled away from family who love her, made impulsive decisions, and we're deeply worried about her mental state. Her fiancé, while seemingly kind, has isolated her from those who've known her longest. We've tried to reach out, but she shuts us down. We fear she's not in a place to make a life-altering decision like marriage. As her parents, we cannot in good conscience attend a wedding we believe is happening under these circumstances. We've tried everything to protect her, but she's an adult and must make her own choices. We ask that you consider whether enabling this union is truly in Myrna's best interest. If you care about her, please reach out. Urge her to slow down, get help, postpone. A mother's love never stops, even when she's pushed away. Barbara Callahan. I read it 3 times. Struggled with anxiety and depression over the years. I'd never been diagnosed with either. I started therapy 1 year ago for family trauma. Erratic behavior. I was setting boundaries. Isolated her. I was protecting myself. Not in any condition to get married. I have a master's degree. I run programs at a domestic violence shelter. And then I saw the CC line. Denise Holloway. My boss. My hands started shaking. I couldn't breathe. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. Then I sat on the floor. Wedding dress hanging on the door behind me. Phone in my hand. 7:43 a.m. The texts kept coming. By 9 a.m., 68 people had canceled. At 8:03, Owen arrived. He'd gotten texts too, but from his family, and they were outraged on my behalf. He found me on the bathroom floor. I showed him the email. He read every word. Then he said 4 words. We're getting married anyway. I said 68 people canceled, Owen. He said I know. I said she CC'd my boss. He said I know. I said everyone thinks I'm crazy now. He said everyone who matters knows you're not. I said who matters? 8 people are coming. 8. He said then we get married in front of 8 people. I said the church is going to be empty. Everyone will see. He said everyone will see you chose yourself over her control. That's not weakness, Myrna. That's fucking strength. I said what if she's right? What if I am making a mistake? He knelt down next to me on the bathroom floor. He said, then it's your mistake to make, not hers. You're 28 years old. You have a master's degree. You run a domestic violence shelter program. You help people escape abuse every single day. You're not unstable. You're not erratic. You're being abused. And today, you're walking away from it. At 8:30, I made the decision. We're getting married. With 8 people. Or 800. I'm not giving her this. What I didn't know, what Owen didn't know, was that 180 miles away, 200 people were getting in their cars. 10 days earlier, on October 8th, a woman named Juliana Torres had created a Facebook group. Myrna's Warriors. Juliana was someone I'd helped 3 years ago. July 2022. She'd walked into Rose City Family Services with her 2 kids and a black eye. I was the intake coordinator. I could have processed her paperwork and sent her to a room. Instead, I sat with her for 2 hours, helped her file a restraining order, found clothes for her kids because they'd left with nothing, called her every week for 6 months to make sure she was okay. The Facebook group was Juliana's idea. She posted, Myrna helped me escape my abuser 3 years ago. Her wedding is October 18th. Who wants to surprise her? 50 people joined the first day. By October 10th, there were 200 members. They planned everything. Bought thrift store jackets, $5 to $15 each. Customized them with fabric paint. 3 messages decided by group vote. You believed me. I believe you. You saved me. They coordinated carpools, decided on a signal system. Juliana would text the group when to enter the church. They'd park in the adjacent overflow lot so I wouldn't see them from the main entrance. Then, at 6 a.m. on October 18th, Someone on the guest list forwarded my mother's email to Juliana. Juliana posted it to the Facebook group with one message. This is what Myrna's mother sent to 94 people last night. She CC'd Myrna's boss. She's trying to destroy her. The wedding is today at 2 p.m., St. Michael's Church. Who's coming? By 8 a.m., 200 people had confirmed, but I didn't know any of this. At 9 a.m., Tessa arrived. My maid of honor, college friend. She saw my face and said what happened. I told her about the email. She read it. She said, "Oh my God, she CC'd your boss." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Myrna, we can postpone." I said, "No. We're doing this." She said, "With 8 people?" I said, "With 8 people." We spent the next 3.5 hours getting ready. Tessa's a cosmetology school graduate. She did my hair. Simple updo, 45 minutes. My makeup. Natural, glowing. No makeup, she called it. She asked if I wanted waterproof mascara. I said yes. She said good call. At 12:30, it was time for the dress. I stepped into it. Ivory lace, T-length, size 8, $680 from David's Bridal. Tessa zipped it up. We both cried. She said, "You look beautiful." I said, "I look alone." She said, "You're not alone. I'm here. Owen's here." At 12:35, my phone buzzed. Group text from Owen's family. "We love you. See you soon." With a heart emoji. I cried harder. Good tears mixed with bad. There were no texts from my family. Just silence. The whole time we were getting ready, my Spotify wedding playlist played in the background. Songs I'd picked weeks ago when I thought my mother would be there, when I thought my family would be there. Every song felt wrong now. At 1 p.m., Tessa said, "Car's here." I looked in the mirror one last time. The woman looking back was beautiful. Alone, but standing. I whispered to my reflection, "You're doing this." We drove to St. Michael's. I entered through the side door that led to the bridal room in the basement. Small room, fluorescent lights, one window that overlooked the parking lot. I looked out the window, counted cars. 6. For 94 guests, you'd expect about 50 cars. I was looking at 6. Tessa said, "Don't look." I said, "I have to know." I thought, 8 people. In a church built for 220. Everyone's going to see how alone I am. What I couldn't see from that window was the overflow lot across the street. 80 cars, 200 people, matching jackets, waiting. At 1:55, Father Grant knocked on the door. "Myrna, we're ready when you are." He paused. "I should mention, attendance is light. Are you sure you want to proceed?" I looked at Tessa. She squeezed my hand. I said, "I'm sure." I had no idea that across the street 200 people were putting on their jackets. The church doors opened. Music started. Canon in D. The organist was a volunteer, an older woman who'd agreed to play for free. She didn't know about the email. She just saw an almost empty church and kept playing. I stood at the back of the church. Closed doors in front of me. On the other side was the aisle, the altar, Owen, and almost no one else. Tessa offered to go out first, check how many people were actually there. I said no. I don't want to know the exact number. I just want to walk. The music swelled. Tessa opened the doors. Light flooded in. I took the first step. The church was designed to hold 220 people. 110 pews per side. 8 people were scattered in the front rows. Owen's parents, his 2 siblings, my 2 college friends who'd ignored the email, Owen's best friend and his wife. 212 empty seats. My heels clicked on the marble floor. The sound echoed. Every footstep announced how alone I was. I'd counted later. 38 steps from the back of the church to the altar. I counted everyone that day. Step 1, I'm doing this. Step 2, I'm actually doing this. Step 3. Heel click, echo. Step 4. Everyone can hear how alone I am. Step 5. Mascara already running. Step 6 through 10. I saw Owen's mom in the front row on the right, crying. She mouthed, "We love you." Step 11 through 15. I saw my college friend holding up her phone, recording. Why? To show my mother? To document my abandonment? Step 16. Midpoint. I realized this is it. This is my family. 8 people. I heard a whisper from Owen's mom to his dad. Where is everyone? Step 21 through 25. Almost there. Owen's face. Proud. Scared. Angry. Not at me. At my mother. Step 26. My bouquet was shaking in my hands. Farmers market flowers. Simple. They cost $35. They felt like they weighed 100 pounds. Step 30. One pew away from the altar. I thought maybe she was right. Maybe I am making a mistake. Step 37. I reached Owen. He mouthed, "You're not alone." Step 38. I stopped, turned to face him. I thought he's all I have. Then, slam. The back doors. Both of them. Loud. Echoing through the church. Everyone turned. Canon in D was still playing. The organist looked confused. Father Grant was mid-opening line. "Dearly beloved." And he froze. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. I thought it's my mother. She came. She's going to stop the wedding. But Owen's face. He wasn't looking at one person. His eyes were wide. He was looking at a crowd. I whispered, "What? Who is it?" He whispered, "Turn around." I turned. 200 people were flooding through the doors. I need to ask you something. And I need you to be honest, even if it's just with yourself. Has someone in your family ever weaponized your mental health against you? Called you too sensitive? Said you were overreacting? Told other people you were going through something to dismiss you? If yes, drop a comment. You don't have to explain. Just, yes. Because I need you to know, if this is happening to you, you're not crazy. You're not imagining it. And you're not alone. They came in waves. The first 30 people within 10 seconds. Women, men, children. All wearing denim jackets. The jackets had writing on them. Fabric paint. From where I was standing, I couldn't read the words yet. But they were moving fast, filing into the empty pews. Another 50 people in the next 20 seconds. More jackets. Some holding signs. Children holding their parents' hands, moving in an organized way, like they'd planned this. Another 60 people in the next 30 seconds. The church was filling. The sound changed. From silent echoing to rustling. Footsteps. Whispers. Is this the right church? Yes, that's her. The pews were filling from back to front. Both sides. No division between bride's side and groom's side. They were filling everything. The final 60 people in the last 30 seconds. Standing room only now. People lining the walls. Some staying in the vestibule because they couldn't fit. 90 seconds. 200 people. The church was at capacity. Designed for 220. Now holding over 200. I couldn't process what I was seeing. First thought. Who are these people? Second thought. Did Owen invite them? Third thought. I started recognizing faces. That's Juliana, from the shelter. July 2022. That's Shauna, teen mom. I helped her get her GED. That's Rachel. Business owner now. I helped her escape her ex in 2021. That's Destiny. Asylum case. I helped with the paperwork. And the jackets. I could read them now. You believed me. I believe you. You saved me. 82 jackets said you believed me. 76 said, I believe you. 42 said, "You saved me." There were 17 children holding handmade signs, crayon, glitter paint, felt tip. "Miss Myrna, we love you. Our hero. Thank you." The sound in the church went from silent to full in 90 seconds. 200 people standing, some crying, all looking at me. The organist had stopped playing. She was staring. Father Grant stood frozen at the altar. Then a woman stepped forward. Juliana. She walked to the front of the church. 42 years old. I recognized her immediately. She was crying. She started to speak. "Myrna." Her voice was shaking but strong. "My name is Juliana Torres. We met 3 years ago, July 14th, 2022. I walked into Rose City Family Services with my 2 kids and a black eye. You were the intake coordinator. You could have processed my paperwork and sent me to a room, but you didn't. You sat with me for 2 hours. You helped me file a restraining order. You found my kids' clothes because we left with nothing. You called me every week for 6 months to make sure I was okay. You believed me when my own mother said I was exaggerating." She paused, composed herself. "You saved my life." She looked at the 200 people. "This morning at 6 a.m. I saw an email forwarded to our Facebook group. Someone shared what your mother sent to 94 people last night. I read it and I thought, that's what my husband used to say. That I was crazy, unstable, that no one would believe me." She turned back to me. "I started a Facebook group 10 days ago, Myrna's Warriors. I posted, 'The woman who saved me is getting married. Her family abandoned her.' Sound familiar?" Within 2 days, 200 people joined. Women you helped. Families you saved. We all said the same thing. We know what it looks like when someone weaponizes mental health. And we know what it looks like when someone actually helps. You helped us. So we're here." Her voice broke. "We heard you were walking down this aisle alone. You're not alone. You've never been alone. You've been surrounded by people who see you." She looked directly at me. "We see you, Myrna. We believe you. And we're not going anywhere." The church erupted in applause. 200 people standing, clapping for 30 seconds before Juliana raised her hand for quiet. Then another woman stood. Shauna, 26. I helped her when she was 19, pregnant, homeless. She walked forward. "I was 19, pregnant, homeless. You got me into transitional housing. You helped me apply for WIC. You watched my baby while I took my GED test. I'm in nursing school now because of you. I'm here because you believed I was more than my circumstances. Thank you." Another woman, Rachel, 38, DV survivor, 2021. 2021. I escaped my ex with $200 and a restraining order. You helped me open a bank account he couldn't access. You connected me with a job training program. I own a cleaning business now. 7 employees. All women you referred to me. This is what you built, Myrna. An army of people you saved. Another. Destiny. 29. Immigrant. Asylum case. You helped me with asylum paperwork when I didn't speak English well. You stayed late every Tuesday for 3 months. You celebrated when my case was approved. You came to my citizenship ceremony. You're the first person who made me feel American. I'm here because you made me believe I belonged. One more. Vanessa, my co-worker. 32. Fellow case manager at Rose City. I work with Myrna. I read the email her mother sent. I've worked with abuse victims for 8 years. I know the language of abuse. That email was textbook Darvo. Deny the abuse, attack the victim, reverse the roles. Myrna's mother accused her of being mentally unstable while demonstrating emotional abuse. I'm here as a professional witness. Myrna is one of the most emotionally stable people I know. That's why she's so good at this work. She recognizes abuse because she survived it. Father Grant stepped forward. He raised his hand for quiet. He was crying. I've been a priest for 40 years. I've never seen anything like this. He looked at me. Before we proceed, I need to say something. I run a crisis hotline for this parish. 24/7 line for anyone in distress. Over the years, I've spoken to dozens of people in this room. I didn't know it was you calling. Anonymous calls. But I remember your stories. The woman who called because her husband said she was crazy for wanting to leave. The mother who called because her family disowned her for reporting abuse. The man who called because his partner told him no one would believe him. He paused. I gave you the number for Rose City Family Services. I told you to ask for Myrna. Many of you did. And you're here. You're alive. You're standing. That's her work. He looked at the 8 original guests in the front rows. To those who were here from the start, thank you for believing. To those who just arrived, thank you for proving that family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up. He opened his Bible. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. And in the parking lot, 180 feet away, in a silver Honda Accord, my mother's phone started buzzing. My mother was sitting in the driver's seat. My father Dennis in the passenger seat. My brother Kyle in the back. They'd been there since 1:30, watching. Mom had binoculars in her lap. She'd seen me arrive at 1:30, counted the 6 cars. Said to Dad, only 6. I was right. No one came. She'd seen me enter the church, said, she looks ridiculous. All dressed up for nothing. It was 2:06 p.m. The church doors were closed. She couldn't see inside. Her phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. She opened it. Barbara, I'm a licensed therapist. License number PSY-28851, Oregon Board. For the past 24 months, I've been documenting your interactions with Myrna. I have 156 logged incidents of emotional abuse across 4 categories. Gaslighting, 64 incidents. Darvo, 38. Financial control, 22. And isolation tactics, 32. I have dates, exact quotes, witnesses, and Myrna's therapist's notes with her permission. The email you sent last night at 11:47 p.m. to Myrna's employer constitutes defamation and workplace harassment. You falsely claimed she has mental health diagnoses she doesn't have. You CC'd her boss and coworkers hours before her wedding. You did this to sabotage her professionally and personally in one coordinated strike. I'm filing for a restraining order Monday. If you contact Myrna, her employer, or anyone in her life with further false claims about her mental health, I will submit my full documentation to the Oregon State Bar and pursue legal action for defamation. A public record of emotional abuse will affect your employment at Pacific Northwest Bank. Right now, 200 people are inside that church. They're domestic violence survivors Myrna helped. They came because they heard her own mother used abuser tactics against her. They recognize the pattern because they lived it. Leave her alone. She's safe now. She's loved now. And she's free. Turn around. Your daughter's groom is marrying her in front of people who actually see her. Owen Fitzpatrick. Mom read it. Her hands were shaking. Kyle, in the back seat, leaned forward and read over her shoulder. He said, "He has 156 incidents? Mom, what does that mean?" Mom said, shaking, "He's bluffing. He doesn't have..." Kyle said, "He listed your tactics. Gaslighting, Darvo. Those are real clinical terms. He's a therapist. He knows what he's doing." Mom said, "I was protecting her." Kyle said, "You told her boss she was crazy. You CC'd her coworkers. That's not protection, that's..." He stopped, realizing, "That's what you did to me." Mom said what? Kyle said, "Whenever I disagreed with you, you'd say I was being emotional, that I wasn't thinking clearly. You'd tell Dad I was going through something so he'd dismiss me. You did it to me too. I was the golden child, so it didn't hurt as much. Dennis spoke. First words in 10 minutes. Quiet. Cold. I'm done, Barb. Mom turned. Dennis. 32 years, Barb. 32 years I've watched you do this. Do what? Dennis's voice was steady. Myrna was 7 when Kyle got the Schwinn bike. You told me we couldn't afford one for her. But we afforded Kyle's. I said nothing. That's not... She was 16 when Kyle got the Accord. You told me she could share. Kyle was 3 hours away at college. She walked to school in the rain for 2 years. I said nothing. I was being practical. She graduated with $38,000 in debt. Kyle graduated with nothing. You told me it was different. I believed you. I said nothing. Dennis, this is... Dennis got louder. And last night, you sent an email to 94 people calling our daughter mentally unstable. You CC'd her boss, her co-workers. You tried to destroy her career the night before her wedding. And I knew you were doing it. You were at the computer at 11:30. I asked what you were doing. You said sending a message. I didn't stop you. Mom was crying now. I was trying to save her. No, you were trying to control her. Because she finally did something you couldn't control. She found someone who sees through you, and you couldn't stand it. Pause. I'm a coward, Barb. I've been a coward for 32 years. I let you steamroll our daughter because it was easier than standing up to you. I told myself you were the mother. You knew better. I told myself Myrna was too sensitive, just like you said. I made excuses. His voice broke. But that email, you weaponized mental illness against a woman who works with domestic violence survivors. You tried to make everyone believe she was the crazy one when you're the one who can't let go. And I sat here and let you do it. You're choosing her over me? I'm choosing what's right, for the first time in 32 years. Maybe if I'd chosen it earlier, she wouldn't have had to walk down that aisle alone. He opened the car door, got out. I'm going to watch my daughter get married. You can sit here and think about what you've done. Kyle unbuckled his seatbelt. I'm going too. Mom said, You're both choosing her over me? Kyle stopped at the car door, looked back. No, Mom. We're choosing reality over your version of reality. There's a difference. They walked toward the church. Mom watched them go. Dennis and Kyle approached St. Michael's at 2:09 p.m. The doors were closed, ceremony in progress. They peered through the side window. They saw 200 people. Myrna at the altar. Owen holding her hands. Father Grant speaking. People crying. Jackets with messages. Children with signs. Dennis whispered to Kyle. Jesus Christ, she really did help all these people. Kyle said. And Mom tried to convince everyone she was the crazy one. They didn't go inside. Too late. But they stayed at the window and watched. In the car, Mom sat alone. She reread Owen's text. Focused on one line. Turn around. Your daughter's groom is marrying her in front of people who actually see her. She turned around. Literally. Looked at the church. Saw Dennis and Kyle at the window. Saw they weren't coming back. Realized she'd lost. Inside the church, Father Grant said, And now, the bride and groom have prepared their own vows. Myrna, I want to ask you something before I tell you what I said. Have you ever been abandoned by people you thought would show up? Family? Friends? People who said they loved you? And then, maybe when you needed them least, has a stranger ever shown up instead? Someone who didn't owe you anything, but chose you anyway? If that's ever happened to you, I want you to remember that feeling. Because what I said next, it was that. I took a deep breath, looked at Owen, then at 200 people, then back to Owen. Owen, 2 years ago I met you at a coffee shop. You asked about my family. I said we're normal. You didn't push, but you noticed things. You noticed I flinched when my phone rang. You noticed I apologized for things that weren't my fault. You noticed I made myself small in every room. 6 weeks later, you gave me a book. Will I ever be good enough? I read it in one night. I called you at 2 a.m. crying because every page was my mother. You said I had one too. You didn't tell me what to do. You didn't say cut her off or she's toxic. You just said, what do you want? And I realized I didn't know. I'd never been allowed to want anything different than what she wanted. You taught me words I'd never heard. Gaslighting, Darvo, covert narcissism, golden child and scapegoat, flying monkeys. You gave me language for my pain. And language is power. Once I could name it, I could see it. Once I could see it, I could stop it. My mother told 94 people I was mentally unstable. She told my boss I was erratic. She weaponized my therapy, the therapy I started because of her, and used it as proof I was unwell. She tried to destroy my reputation, my career, my wedding, my life, because I wouldn't obey her. And you documented it. For 2 years. You didn't tell me because you wanted me to come to my own conclusions, but you held on to proof in case I ever needed it. You believed me before I believed myself. These 200 people, I helped them escape abuse, gaslighting, isolation, control. I taught them to recognize the signs. I never saw the signs in my own life until you showed me. My mother taught me I wasn't enough, that I was too sensitive, that my feelings were wrong, that my reality wasn't real. You taught me the opposite. You taught me I was always enough. You taught me my feelings are valid. You taught me my reality is the one I lived, not the one she told me I lived. I'm not marrying you because you saved me. I'm marrying you because you taught me I was worth saving. There's a difference. I'm marrying you because you're the first person who loved me without needing to control me, who chose me without conditions, who saw me, really saw me, and said, yeah, her, that one. Thank you for teaching me what love actually feels like. Thank you for standing next to me when 68 people walked away. Thank you for turning my empty church into the fullest room I've ever been in. I love you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're patient, and you're mine, and I'm yours. And nobody, not my mother, not my family, not anyone, gets to decide that but us. I choose you, today, tomorrow, every day, and I choose myself. Finally, for the first time. Thank you for teaching me that was allowed. 200 people were crying. Owen was crying. Father Grant was crying. I was crying. The church stood and applauded for 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Owen's vows were shorter. He said, everything you just said? Same. I choose you. I choose us. Let's go build a family that doesn't hurt. Father Grant said, by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Owen kissed me. 200 people erupted. The reception was in the community hall next door. We'd planned for 94 guests, lost most of our deposits. Our budget was blown, but 200 people showed up with food. No one had coordinated it. They just brought dishes, casseroles, rice, tamales, pasta, fried chicken, salads, desserts. Every culture represented, survivors from around the world. Juliana brought a 4-layer tres leches cake she'd made herself. Rachel's cleaning company employees brought 400 pieces of Filipino lumpia. Shauna brought mac and cheese. Her kid's favorite. She wanted to share. There was enough food for 350 people. I walked through the hall and people kept putting food on my plate. A woman I didn't recognize handed me an envelope. She said, you helped my sister in 2023. She couldn't come, lives in Texas, but she sent me with this. Inside was $200 cash and a note. For your honeymoon. You saved my life. Angela. I said, I don't even remember your sister. The woman said, you don't have to remember everyone you saved. We remember you. We danced. Someone brought a portable speaker. Spotify playlist. Our first dance was At Last by Etta James. There was no father-daughter dance. Too painful. But then 10 men stood up. They asked me to dance. They said, we're your uncles now. You don't have a dad here? We got you. I danced with 10 uncles. I cried through every song. 3 people had brought cake. No one coordinated. So there were 4 cakes total. We hadn't registered for gifts. But people brought cards with cash. By the end of the night, we'd collected $3,800. The party lasted 6 hours. Until 8:45 p.m. rice was thrown. Owen's niece had brought it. Someone's kid had decorated our car with "Just Married" in window marker. We drove to a hotel 15 minutes away. The whole drive I kept saying, that happened. That really happened. Owen said, yeah, it did. I said, I'm not alone. Owen said, you never were. The next morning, October 19th, I woke up at 9. Owen was at the hotel desk, laptop open. I said, what are you doing? He said, filing the restraining order. I said, what? He closed the laptop, sat on the bed. I need to tell you something. Yesterday during the ceremony, I sent your mother a text. I said, what did it say? Everything. The documentation, the 156 incidents, the categories, the threats. I said, you threatened my mom? I told her if she contacts you, your employer, or anyone in your life with further false claims about your mental health, I'll submit my documentation to the state bar and pursue defamation charges. And I'm filing for a restraining order today. I was silent, processing. I should have asked first. But I was watching you walk down that aisle crying, and I was watching her sit in her car outside like she was at a fucking stakeout, and I was done. I'm sorry if I overstepped. I said, what did she say back? Nothing. But your dad and brother came to the church. They stood outside and watched through the window. They didn't come in, but they saw everything. I started crying. My dad came? Yeah. He got out of the car and left your mom. Kyle went with him. They stayed for the whole ceremony. I was crying harder now. I didn't see them. They were outside. But they saw you. They saw the 200 people. They saw the truth. I said, do you really have 156 incidents documented? Yes. Dates, quotes, categories, witness accounts, your therapist's notes with your permission. I said, why didn't you tell me? He paused. Because I didn't want you to feel like you had to do anything with it. And this is important. I need to be clear about something. I wasn't documenting this as your therapist. I would never do that. That would be a massive ethical violation. You have Dr. Pemberton for therapy. I was documenting this as your partner, as someone who has professional training to recognize abuse patterns. These are my personal notes, not clinical records. I kept them in case you ever needed proof. For a restraining order, for your own clarity, whatever you needed. I said you weren't analyzing me? God, no. I was analyzing what was being done to you. Big difference. I saw patterns because I'm trained to see them. But I documented as someone who loves you and wanted to protect you, not as your therapist. You understand that distinction? I nodded. Yeah, I do. Long pause. I'm not angry, I'm relieved. File it. I want the restraining order. He said, are you sure? I said I'm sure. The restraining order was approved, October 23, 2025. My mother was served at work. Pacific Northwest Bank. By a sheriff's deputy. Her coworkers saw. One of them was friends with my coworker Vanessa. Word got back to me within 4 hours. I felt nothing, just quiet. Finally, quiet. What happened after that? November 2nd. Kyle started therapy. His own therapist, not mine. He called me November 15th. First time we'd spoken since the wedding. He said, "I'm sorry, I didn't see it. I benefited from it, so I didn't see it." I said, "I know." He said, "Can we try, you and me?" I said, "Yeah, we can try." Thanksgiving, we hosted. Owen's family, Kyle, Juliana's family, first chosen family holiday. December 15th. Kyle told me he was going no contact with Mom. He said every conversation was her rewriting history. He was out. He said Dad was thinking about divorce. Christmas. Owen, me, Kyle, Dennis. Dennis came alone. He'd separated from Mom. January 8th, 2026. Mom's HR investigation at the bank concluded. I don't know details, but she was placed on a performance improvement plan. January 20th. Dennis filed for legal separation. January 31st. I discovered I was pregnant. 5 weeks. February 20th. Mom sent a baby gift. Knitted blanket. Card said, "For my grandchild, I'm sorry. Mom." I donated the blanket to Rose City Family Services. Kept the card. Didn't reply. February 28th. Dennis asked to meet me for coffee. We met at Starbucks. Public place. He said, "I'm sorry I didn't protect you." I said, "I know." He said, "Can I be in the baby's life?" I said, "I don't know yet. But we can keep talking." We agreed to monthly coffee meetings. Boundaries clear. March 1st. Mom asked, through her attorney, to meet her grandchild when born. My answer: no, not now. Maybe never. Today is March 15th, 2026. I'm 4 months pregnant. Still no contact with my mother. The restraining order is active until October 2026. I'll renew it. I see Dennis once a month. Coffee. Supervised. Public. We're rebuilding slowly. Maybe. Kyle and I talk every week. Our relationship is healing. The Myrna's Warriors Facebook group now has 450 members. They're my support network. I was promoted at Rose City. Program director. $63,000 a year. Owen expanded his practice. 15 clients a week. His specialty: adult children of narcissists. Our baby is due in June, and I have a chosen family of 200 people who show up. The restraining order expires in 7 months. Owen asked me yesterday if I'll renew it. I said yes. He said, "What if she changes?" I said, "Then she can prove it from a distance." People ask me if I regret it. Going through with the wedding. Walking down an aisle to almost no one. The answer is no. Because what I walked into was everything. My mother wanted me to feel alone. She spent 28 years teaching me I wasn't enough. And in one night, she tried to prove it. 94 people invited. 68 withdrew. She wanted me to stand in that empty church and finally believe her. But here's what she didn't understand. You can't make someone feel alone when they've spent years teaching other people they're not alone. Those 200 people showed up because I showed up for them. That's not luck. That's investment. That's love you've built. My mother thought love was control. If she couldn't control me, I wasn't worth loving. Owen taught me love is freedom. If you have to control it, it's not love. I'm 28 years old, 4 months pregnant. No contact with my mother. Limited contact with my father. Close with my brother for the first time ever. Married to a man who documented abuse for 2 years, just in case I ever needed proof. Surrounded by 200 people who saw me when my own family didn't. I don't know what happens next. Maybe my mother changes. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe one day I let her meet her grandchild. Maybe I don't. I don't have to decide now. What I do know is this: the people who truly see you will show up. And the people who don't? Their absence is the gift. Because every empty seat is a space for someone who actually chooses you. My name is Myrna. I'm 28 years old, and I'm not alone. I never was. If you made it this far, thank you. I know this was long. I know it was heavy. But I needed to tell it the right way. If this story resonated with you, if you saw your mother in mine, if you saw yourself in me, I want you to know something. You don't owe anyone access to you just because they're family. Blood doesn't give someone the right to hurt you, and healing doesn't mean reconciliation. Sometimes it just means peace. I'm not asking you to like or subscribe. I'm asking you to take care of yourself. If you need therapy, get therapy. If you need distance, take distance. If you need to walk down an aisle alone, walk. Because the people who are supposed to show up, they will. And if you want to share this with someone who needs to hear it, do. This story isn't just mine anymore. It's for anyone who's ever been told they're crazy for trusting themselves. You're not crazy, you're not alone, and you're allowed to choose yourself. I'll see you in the next one.